Hi everyone. I am trying to get myself centered because even just the connection between starting and sitting down and preparing has been such a buildup of energy, and no doubt that has everything to do with the connection that we are now sharing, because time is nothing to really put a thumb onto and say that it's definite. So time is limitless, infinite, and whenever you watch this, just know that it is going to be the messages that you are to receive at a really important, divine, specific placement in time. So just to get started, I wanted to address that I wanted to come on here and give some messages through cards, through intuitive guidance, through my guides, through the collective consciousness, through the universe, and all of the above, God, energy, light energy, the frequency of all of those said as well. I forgot to light some of my candles, so I'll do that now. And as I'm doing that, I want you all to just set the intention of what you are looking to receive, maybe a message that gets you through some quarantining, or gets you through some figuring out what your next step is and how to move along into the rest of the year, and how also you might take this time as an opportunity to begin something new and to maybe be more creative. So we will dive into it. Let me, well, last time, sorry about that. This is sort of a ritual I do frequently, and I'm trying to put this back in there. Perfect. This is kind of a ritual I do frequently in order to kind of center and reroute myself, ground myself, because I definitely can get off the walls sometimes. And in a time like this, you can either be different on the each end of the scale is what I'm trying to say. But so you can either be so rooted that you forget that you're a soul having a human experience, or you can be flying off the walls like I tend to do, staying in a very disassociation of my human self where I need to remember that I am having a human experience, and it's part of all the lessons that are that I was reincarnated here to do. So if you see me look down a lot, I had to write some things down because I knew I would be going off on some long tangents, and I needed to make sure that not only I was grounded with my surroundings, but grounded in writing some notes down so I don't get too off track and make this video longer than it should be. So no much longer that needs to be said, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump into my notes, and then at the end I pulled some cards, and I might pull some more outside of the 4 decks that I chose, but those were just the ones that I was instinctively called to. So if there are messages from those, I'll go ahead and tell you the decks that I chose from, and if you can intuitively guide yourself to the ones that really sound like they'll call you. Each deck may also bring to light a few things for you that might need to be heard, and just make that intention that that message is for you. Also know I pulled for the collective, so there's probably a lot of things that might resonate with you or resonate with somebody you know, but if it doesn't sound like it's necessarily something that's true to you, just let it go and move on to the next thing. Or if nothing's for you, that is definitely okay, but there should be at least some message in this whole reading and notes that I was intuitively given as well that is probably going to resonate with you. And I made the intention to give messages that are absolutely needed for the collective right at this moment, just because it can seem a little chaotic, but if we can all work together in a compassionate and grateful way, we are all definitely going to get through this. And then the transition into spring and summer is going to be so much more beautiful, such a weight off of our chest, and altogether I think we're just going to come out on top, and it's just we have to, you know, take the steps to get there. So again, let me stop there and get to my notes. So while I was trying to channel my higher consciousness, the collective, the universe, God frequency, and my angels, they were definitely reminding me that not only in this time that can be a little chaotic, it's definitely a time to now, if specifically for the people that are self-quarantining or out of work or are just choosing to be mindful of not really going out and not trying to spread something that they could very well spread without knowing it. Just being mindful in a sense in general is going to be definitely helpful, but reminding yourself that now is such a vast variety of opportunities for each and every one of us. And of course, each and every one of us were given a gift of literally whatever it may be, that whenever you were born, you had a specific duty or a divine calling, or something that has driven you to this point that has made you happy, or you kind of go in and out of these phases of doing things that make you happy, whether it's a creative outlet or a hobby, or really anything from like woodworking to spreading spiritual awareness. Any of that could be something to connect to at this time, and that's really why this is all happening. Synchronistically, this is a lot of spiritual work that's being done, whether you're a spiritual being or not. Just know that because we are all aliens in a sense, we all have a connection to a higher power, a greater source that has given us a human experience that is really truly divine, and that we can share whatever our presence is with others. So never diminish yourself, especially in times of chaos and destruction, and where people might not necessarily be as aware. You have to really show them compassion and give them that love. This is really what we're all trained to do. And whenever we start to distance ourselves from that, we can get into like a fear mindset, and it's very necessary at this point in time, really. There's a lot of things that are shifting into a new perspective, and that's another note I wrote down here, as far as there's a lot of shifting going on, a lot of new perspectives that are becoming more aware of in ourselves. And what I really want to say about that, let me flip the page here, is so you, while connecting and trying to stay distant at the same time, thank goodness for the century that we live in. Technology is such a gift, but being mindful of how you use that gift. But if you can, while using it, or if for some reason you need to contact other people or go out in public, or you come across somebody on social media, make sure that you're in a space of compassion. And that is going to be so important at this time. And being is that the more compassion we give, and that we connect to that frequency, it's going to put us in a higher level of consciousness. So it's going to keep boosting us, and hopefully make all of the chaotic haywire that's going on right now lessen. And maybe we can shoot through that faster. But if you're someone like me that is an empath, you've been noticing a lot of fast-paced shifting going on, and that is definitely for a purpose of we're transmuting, I should say, the energies that we have been bred up to this point, so that we can share it. And you may start to notice a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs coming out and talking about a lot of things, and definitely pay attention to the ones that seem genuine. I know a lot of people right now might also be in more of a fear state, that they might not say things that are from a loving, compassionate, grateful place. So just be mindful of the things you're taking in and the things that you are receiving, so that you can transmute the most important things that will help you be more elevated. That way every day just seems a little less and less of this huge weight that seems to have slammed on top of everybody's chest all of a sudden. So if you can relate to that, definitely give me a thumbs up. But let's talk about also, I had been guided for a couple different things. So I'm trying to see what I want to talk about first. Kind of going back to what I was just saying, another big message I got was, it came through clearly, do not pay attention to clickbait. No big name energy. So what I mean by that is, in a polite way, if there are just some maybe tantalizing or some really things that, well, I should say some messages or YouTube names or video titles that seem daunting or ominous, just stay away from those. Don't give yourself that energy. It is all a part of the process, and that's why you'll start to also see the more negative things also coming out, with the most beautiful things that are coming out and being brought forward from our creatives and our spiritual community at the same time right now. So as I'm saying, it is, you cannot have light without dark, and that's why there's a lot of these beautiful people coming out right now, because they're trying to even the scale on the dark end that was first initiated by the fear factor from the illness, or as we've known it, the things that are coming in right now. So we have to definitely keep our mind and heart on the same frequency, so that everything else can be transmuted just as beautifully. So definitely be aware of all of the tricksters that are going to be coming out as well, and just stay mindful of that. Be smart about it. Don't click on anything that might bring your energy down or make you feel more depressed or more anxious than what you already are, because it's not enough. It's not important, I mean. So with that as well, I definitely got the message to be with yourself at this time. If there's any moment that you can share really with your highest guidance and your intuition and yourself, really do that, and root back to everything that you've become to this point, and just sit with that and try not to overexert yourself. If you have to stay off of social media, please do that. Get back to really who you are as a person, and the process that we're being given at this moment is definitely for our higher calling. So get creative, be mindful, find a hobby, and I think one of the last things I really want to say before I get into the cards, I know you all have probably been so patient with me. I appreciate that. But rid yourself of judgment at this moment. Rid yourself of being in any space that feels not as correlative to your highest judgment, your highest frequency, to your better self. If you can be in the mind space of, I am my highest self, I am my genuine light frequency, try and connect to that as much as possible, and then that can also help you dismantle all of the bricks that you have created to this point. And don't judge yourself for having created them. Let that be what it was in the past. Release all of that energy that you've held on to those, and just cut through all of that, and being mindful of how you approach messages, or how you even if you can remain open to certain messages, that's going to be the most important, and that will release the judgment, which might be which might feel more in alignment with yourself if you can practice it more. And honestly, it's the toughest thing for a human to practice something that we haven't really been bred into from birth, really. It's very more controlled, and we've been so out of control for so long that it's become so comfortable, if that makes sense. So if you can try and get back to that control and being with self again, like frequency, I keep referencing this, but whatever it feels like for you, if that's God energy, if that's the universe, or if that's just a higher power in general, if you believe in something like that, that is going to keep you more rooted in finding your center and doing all of these things that will keep you moving along. And if for each day that you are alone and or with your friends and family, or whoever you're quarantining with, or if you're just out and about, try and get into nature if you can, but definitely somewhere, and somewhere that is not overly populated, because you definitely want to be with yourself. But what I'm trying to say is, for each day, try and stick to one specific thing, a goal, something that you can set in mind to accomplish. Make sure it's something that you can accomplish. Don't overreach for something that you know is unobtainable. Do something for yourself each day and make it a pattern each day. Stick with it. This is a message that I was intuitively guided to share as well. They said definitely have something that you can set a goal to accomplish every day. If that's, for me, I kept getting downloads of doing some push-ups every day. If I can do at least 10 push-ups, I know that might not be a lot for a lot of people, but I have not done push-ups in a very long time, and my upper body strength is depleted. So that is also a challenge I'm creating for myself. But I definitely know 10 push-ups is easy enough to get started. And definitely, for instance, for something like this, if you start to feel more confident in it, try and incorporate something else with it, and or knock up your numbers. So for me, if I start getting more comfortable or feel more strength, I'll start to knock it up to maybe 20 push-ups a day, but at least I want to accomplish that every single day. And just the simple fact of having a goal, having it on repeat, is definitely not only a practice, but it's also a ritual. It's also something that we can start to form a habit in. So if we're not working, or if we're not super busy, it just keeps our minds on track, and it'll definitely speed up another process of getting everything all wrapped up together so that we can come back to self. So I'm done with my notes. So I will get to the cards now, and if I can ask or request of all of you to channel into the messages that will be noted. So again, if you need a message right now, I should say, not everybody needs a message. A lot of people right now are becoming more aware, so they're not necessarily searching, they're just kind of being, which is perfect. But also at the same time, it's really nice to have like a confirmation at least, or something to take with you away from this video. But what I'd like to say is, if you will turn into the frequency, I have a few cards. Again, I did forget to mention the cards. I'm so sorry. I just now realized that. I pulled from the universe deck. I have a universe deck here. So any message that the universe wants us to know, or you to know specifically, and definitely call it yours. If you feel like this resonates for you, let it be that. Let it soak in. Let it and absorb your frequency. Let the cards absorb your frequency, and then we will definitely talk about it. If you want to discuss it, you can leave comments, you can message me, whatever, follow my website, all the good stuff. The other I have is my tarot deck, and I have a psychic tarot deck for the heart. So the tarot deck is just going to be a message that the collective needs to hear. The Psychic Heart Tarot deck is something that our hearts need us to desperately know. So I'm going to use that as what our hearts want us to know. And then I also have my Butterfly Angels deck, that gives us messages from, I connect from the butterfly angels, so that they are basically forms of transformation and transmutation. So any messages that might resonate with you through these cards might come from any four of these decks. And of course they can come from all of them or none of them, or if you want to call it yours, so mote it be and let it be. So if you would like to also be aware that these bells and singing bowls, singing bowls might have a frequency on your end that might harm your ears. So at this moment, maybe turn down your volume or let it be and just soak it in, because it's pretty loud on my end as well. I'm going to ring these a couple of times until I can recenter myself from the notes that I was reading, and that way I can get a clearer message from the cards that are pulled here. So I'll start kind of clockwise on my end, from the universe to my tarot deck to the psychic heart and to the butterfly angels. So if any at that point you want to fast forward or listen to all of them, that is up to you. I might put timestamps in the bottom as well, but if you can, again, join me, and I'm going to ring these bells now. So I'm going to take in a deep breath and then release it as slowly as I breathe in and out, and then we will move forward. So here we go. Like I said, I'm gonna pull from my universe deck to see what the universe has for us to say. And the first thing right off the bat that I see, as I notice, is the blue color, and we will talk about that here in a minute. But the messages here say, my happiness is a direct reflection of my level of faith in the universe. And I hope that that can maybe clear up for you, but it has a kind of a symbol of a triple moon here, but it also has the moon right above it. Really what this is saying, and it kind of goes back to the messages that I was given beforehand that we talked about. And if you're just now on the cards and you didn't listen to my messages, this might be resonant for going back and listening to those messages then. But honestly, again, it's attuning to yourself and literally surrendering to the process of what this is giving us. That way we can transmute the energies that we're now working on, and now that we've been given the opportunities to work on. So it really is, again, connecting to that compassion frequency, connecting to the love frequency, releasing the energies of the world's gonna end and this is just chaotic and what are we gonna do? We're gonna be lost forever. This is not the end of the world, you guys. It is a new beginning of something very, very powerful, very, very beautiful, and that's how you should be looking at it. And if you're looking at it in a way that is from a fear perspective, this is a clear message from the universe that happiness is your true identity. Happiness is a direct reflection of my level of faith in the universe. faith is also a really huge, important message at this time. I think I've heard it quite a few times, and definitely just in mid sentences from people, but every time I've heard it, it's just one of those intuitive words that I've grabbed onto and I've really paid attention to. And it's that also that frequency, that's that faith that it's talking about releasing and surrendering to the universe to let it do what it's doing, because it's boosting us into this new form, this new identity, this new collective consciousness that is now at a higher level. And it really is truly bringing us happiness from that. So from that, the blue color comes from the throat chakra, and that is the direct reflection of saying I am, and that I am doing these things and I am being in it, and I speak from these energies that are true to my being. Really, it's true to myself, to my core, all of that is really coming out and through me. So speaking your truth is a huge, major message from the throat chakra. So if you can also transmute this to your friends and family, that you can really get them on a level of understanding. So it's away and distant from the fear factor. So it's away and distant from things that aren't of our highest good and that aren't in our best intention. And really, the universe is always in our best intention. It's not here to harm us. It's not here to give us this shoddy experience that we'll regret. It's here to give you lessons so that you can transmute them. But most importantly is asking us to be in our happiness frequency. So let that sink in. Let that be a message for those of you who chose this deck, or those of you that are open to receiving any messages right now. But that is the main message I'm getting from the universe. So take it as you will, and also so mote it be. Anyway, I have some cards here from the tarot deck, and actually I'll flip these around so I can look at them a little bit. For sure, the main thing I'm getting from this is that we feel like I guess I can start by saying on the scale again, there's a lot of us that are still kind of going down this path of I can't take it no more. There's so much on my plate, or there's too much weight on my back that I can't take it anymore, and they're begging for a release. And then there's on the other side where they're just continuously boosting up, saying, pardon, so many hiccups, where they're saying, I have come this far with this much on my back. This is just another thing pushing me forward. Let me release all of that I've been carrying, leave it in the past so that new can transmit and transmute. And really why I'm getting that is because the 10 of Wands is here. And that's really the image, if you can see this guy that has just been trotting, and he has so much to carry moving forward. But if you know anything about numbers and numerology, you would know that 10 is a completion of sorts. It's a moving forward of sorts, and it's definitely one that is a next step or a transmutation in itself. So getting that with the other ones that I have here, I have a lot of fire energy, which is also very representative of Aries season. I have the Queen of Swords here, which could also, Queen of Wands, which could also represent any fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. So if you're any of those, this is definitely showing that you're coming up in the reading. And what that means is that your energy is very potent at this time for you to transmit a lot of really beautiful things in this world. And if I can be completely honest, this really reminds me of a very dear soul family member of mine that is very, very, very connected now to her power, to her control, to her gifts, and she is transmuting them in such a beautiful way that it definitely is resonant for that energy to come through. So being in your true power is really what this is saying, these both together. Be in that power that connects you to others, compassion, giving, and seeing that there's a beautiful light at the end of the tunnel, which it very much is is, and and let it be. But this is connecting you, not only that energy that has boosted you this far, it's now asking you to continue to give and receive at the same time. Try not to overdo yourself where you're exhausted, but as far as giving, give as much as you can, but also be mindful of what you're giving yourself so that you can continue to give to others, because that is so important right now. And what comes about from this is really a new sense of intellectual mindfulness. And what I mean by that is the connection now that you'll begin to connect to is an energy that has been you all along. You'll feel like it is coming from you, and that you're now connecting into a power that has felt distant because you've been away from it for so long, but will feel so natural. It will feel so powerful that you can enact it in many different forms. So if it's one-on-one communication, if you have a YouTube, or if you have friends and family that you can share this with, it's all of the energy that you, and it doesn't have to be something spiritual. I'm just saying it is something of sharing of yourself to give others hope in a time of despair for some people, because some people are still afraid to transmute the energy because it seems so not practiced, because they've been in a fear frequency for so long. And that's what I'm trying to say is, once you start to practice these very intuitive gifts that we've all been given, you just have to connect to something of that sort to really move forward. And that's what that means. So paying attention to that, I have the Page of Swords here, and pages also definitely represent new beginnings, kind of like this, I usually see it as kind of like this seed that's being watered so it can start to grow into something so much more beautifully. But from that seed, well, I should say from another plant, that seed came off of, and that it was pollinated, and that's where the water is being grown. So it came from something beautiful already. There was a flower that was already bloomed. It was the seed that came off of it so that you can create something new from the source that it was originated. So in that same sense, I'm saying there's so much that you'll start to connect to if you just practice mindfulness, rooting yourself, being with self, practicing compassion, all of the above. It kind of all correlates. I'm probably pretty sure that all of these cards have something to say in confirmation to the other, but again, just being open to the process and surrendering to the universe, and knowing that you are one and the same with it, and it's not here to harm you. So know that no harm is going to come to you. So be mindful of that as well. And that can also transmute a lot of things to a lot of different people that you may know. So moving on to the next deck, I have the Psychic Heart, the Psychic Tarot from the Heart, I should say. And the messages here, and by the way, I haven't looked at any of these cards yet, so I had no idea what to expect, but the main things I see here also are 4 and 9, huge major transformation type numbers. These are both numbers that are about to take the next step. These are both numbers that are transforming into a solid. So if you take 4, you're moving right onto a 5, which is a powerhouse number for being in your intuitive guidance, or power, I should say. And then 9 is right before 10. And again, we had a 10 there. So it's a next step. And the main messages I have here are open up and dreams coming true. Let me see if I can get you to see these 2 cards up close. And notice also, another practice here is to notice what really stands out to you in these cards first. If you see something, a color, a shape, a design, a message, if it's the words, go intuitively straight to whatever you notice, and kind of sit with that as well. Really root yourself and know that that is a calling for you, and you should really try and visualize what that message might mean for you. So what I'm getting from these messages, if I'm gonna go card by card, I should say, from this open up card, it is just this most beautiful radiant energy of, it feels so much like I'm giving my power to power, that I can transmute that power to myself. So it's like connecting to source. There's a frequency that is a direct line. I see it, a visual I'm getting actually is a cord that's connecting us to Mother Gaia, also up to spirit realm, angels, God, all of that. It's just a straight cord, and that's just as I'm seeing this card here. So along the process of transmuting into our highest intellectual being, so that we can make the next process into 6, 7, 8, and 9 is the 4 here. So that to me is surrendering, releasing, but also connecting at the same time, so that everything flows smoothly. Because when you're not really open, or you're closed off, I should say, you're not getting the energies. You can be swayed off course, making everything so imbalanced, really not weighing out very equally. So opening up, taking that balance. 4 is also an equal balance number. It's an even number for 2 and 2. So if you can say paired with the 4, you have 2 equal balancing scales here that are definitely being requested of you. But that is from your heart. That is asking from your heart to connect all of these. So maybe centering and focusing from the heart space. If you can connect to that energy, feeling what the heart frequency gives you. If it's a love frequency that makes you really feel that, and really let it shoot through both ends of the spectrum, so that we are more in alignment and more connected than ever. From this dreams coming true card, it's really showing to me that everything is in your hands. And honestly, it feels more like the hands of the universe. It feels very godlike, very powerful. There is a huge constellation right in the middle of his hands. His or her hands, I should say. But really what that's saying is that things are already in the process. They've been in the process. Time, the first thing I said at the beginning of the video is time is limitless. This was already written in our path. This was already something that has been written in the cosmos, you should say. There's a lot of starry planets and everything going on in this card. So really it's been written in the stars, that you could say that this path that we're on has been already. It's already been. And you can look at it as such. And when you look at it as such, if you imagine something that you are trying to head towards, imagine it already being so. Imagine it already being in your hands. Imagine it already being gifted to you. It's either already happened or it's in the process of happening, and you're making it so. So connecting to that is again coming from your heart. Your heart is asking you to connect to this so desperately. It's like a huge, loud bang, ringing, however it comes through to you, of energy, so that you're recognizing like, hey, I've always been here. It's always been here for you. It's been written in the stars. You just have to look at it and you have to hold it. Really, you have to make it so. We can't necessarily hold a star, but if you feel like if you can imagine holding onto a star, like, this is something so beautiful, I've created it and it's already mine. Those types of things make it so. It can be very intimidating to imagine something that's not necessarily there, but if you can go back to, again, a root. That's one of the first things we were gifted as a child, was imagination. And it was there for a very, very important reason. And we've distanced away so far from being in that imaginative state and connecting to our childlike selves that we lose sight of the beauty of this reality and the beauty of the world we live in. And that's what makes this chaotic frequency start to erupt. So and then when it does erupt, I should say, that's our like hello, a wake up, kind of like addressing. It could have been so much worse. You can think about all the negative things that might be, or what if frequencies. Leave all of that to the side. Put your frequency in the present. Address what is and what can be, the positive side of it, and make it so. Make it so. Address it as it's already in your hands. Make it solid and concrete. That is what I want to say. So, from the butterfly angels, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Again, such confirmation from everything that has already been given. And if you've made it this far in my video, I know it has been so long, but if you've made it this far, I'm so graciously appreciative of you, and I'm sending you so much love at this time. Please take it. I'm gonna force my love on you. But anyway, the messages we got here, let's see if I can hold them up. We have new beginnings, a mother's love, and let go. So again, maybe look at the images, what might resonate to you. If anything, I hope so. But let's talk about these, shall we? Of course, the huge major players here are being represented again, releasing all that was, and accepting that there's something new coming from this. There is something beautiful arising. We just have to release what does not serve us, what is causing us this disillusion of a reality that is beauty. I mean, it all around us is beauty 24/7. We just are so confined in this box because we've built up all of these barriers to not seeing the beauty around us. We've put up blocks of fear. We've put up blocks of people who've hurt us. We've not forgiven the people who have hurt us. We've most importantly not forgiven ourselves. And that is the blocks that we're not being able to see that there is beauty on the other side of destruction. And there's beauty on the other side of darkness. And light is always going to prevail because you cannot have darkness without the light. So hold on to that message so powerfully. And another wonderful, beautiful thing that I'm seeing from these cards here, this past week, I've been seeing a lot of yellows, golds, oranges, some undertones of red, but very powerful colors from our confident side, from our sacral and our root chakra. So all of those are being initiated right now. So maybe even when you sleep, you might have visions of yellow or orange or gold or reds or maybe beiges or those types of colors, and know that is definitely for a purpose. It's for us to all kind of start to transmute this energy. And another color it resembles is the light, of course. If you have a candle flame, they usually are pretty orange and yellow. So if you can imagine this flame that is building up within us, going back to that fire energy, that fire frequency of the Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, this Queen of Wands that's coming out as well. That is that energy of enlightening our passions and our desires and our creative selves and our true selves, more importantly, to just keep moving forward. So being in the mindset of that is really where these two are coming into play here. So definitely pay attention to the things that start to get you in an anxious or depressive state. That is coming up for a reason, so that you can release it and let go, so that the new process is continuing to move forward. Woo! Anyway, that was a lot of energy. So the last thing I think I want to talk about, and then maybe we'll go into more, hopefully, if I can continue to talk, is the mother's love. I want this all to really set in for all of us. Really soak this in. And the reason I saved it for last is there is a desperate necessity to want to take care of ourselves, or actually just a need to take care of ourselves. There's not necessarily a want to from some people. And again, that's on another one of those weighing out scales. So on one side, people are doing all the self-care, self-love, being mindful, treating self like they would want to be treated from others, and not necessarily worrying that they have to get that type of love from somebody else. That is the true, genuine energy that this card is trying to represent. On the other end of that, where people might really need to hear this message, are the people that are over giving themselves and not receiving that amount back for themselves, and then really getting in this pit of, was I not enough, or am I not what they want, or can I not provide the same thing, can they not provide the same things that I can for them? It's being in that mindset that you're inadequate to be anything for anyone else, or that you're not caring enough for self. And that's a really destructive place to be, or it can lead into that. There's definitely some mild and some very intense scales to that as well, but just know that if you're in that mindset, I'm so sorry that you're having to go through that right now, because it's definitely being brought up and it's kind of like poking at you a little bit, and it might feel comfortable to keep going down that path. Pardon again, but know that this message is so important for you to address it right now, to really grab onto this as something to learn from, because right now you have to be the person for yourself that your mom has always been to you, or that somebody that maybe has come across in your path that has just felt so nurturing or giving and caring in a way that feels like it would be from a mother's perspective to their child. If you really can take anyone on the street that has a child, or you see a newborn baby with her new mom, you can tell, or you can even feel sometimes the love frequency that mom is giving to her child. And not only that, that child is trusting in the mom to take care of that child. So in all retrospect, I should say that we all are now being requested to really soak in an energy that is of nurturing, that is of a nurturing state, I guess I should say, that we need to do that for ourselves. That is very, very, very important right now. We're really connecting some bonds that have been broken in the past, that might have been shattered in the past, that might have been not as well received, and you have to now do that for yourself. The most important thing right now is also, whenever you start to do that for yourself, it's going to radiate out from you, and it's going to not only start healing the planet more, you're going to also connect to the collective consciousness for people that are already doing this. You might also find your way into a new hobby that might also be a new creative outlet, something that is going to start boosting you a little bit more. But all in all, it is a love frequency, and that's the most important thing that we know from mothers, grandmothers, aunts, and really honestly anybody. It doesn't have to be gender specific. Anybody that has cared for you in such a way that feels like they would give the world to you, or that they want to see you do your best, or if you can imagine anything that has to do with a mothering type energy, you need to do that for yourself. And you need to be mindful of what you're giving for others. If you feel like you have not received enough, that is also a mindset that you're putting yourself in. I've not received this enough. What am I going to do? And you're going to start to lose yourself. So also try and forget that frequency that you're putting yourself in, so that you can continue to be mindful of the words you're using for yourself, the feelings you're giving yourself, the feelings you're putting outward, so that other people are also feeling those feelings, and they might not return your energy in a very good way. So that could also be something that's working behind the scenes. Just know that there is a beautiful opportunity here, and the keyword is opportunity, to really start to change things around. And that's really where this energy is coming from overall. This virus that is spreading, try not to get tangled up in the what ifs, and release all the negative patterns that have brought you to this point, so that you can transmit and transmute a new perspective. Most importantly, you're going to start seeing a beautiful new perspective on everything. Your perceptions will start to change. And honestly, I feel like I've said and beaten a dead horse on about everything, so I hope that message is pretty clear. And again, if you stayed with me this far, I'm so very thankful for you. Please share it with your friends and family if they need a comforting message at this time. Let them know also that there are so many people right now that are doing the work, and they are providing assistance to anyone looking, especially the people that do online work for any kind of herbal or what's the word I'm trying to think of? Holistic health, any holistic health practitioners, or any YouTube people that are speaking about spirituality. And again, also always be mindful of the people you connect with. Try and intuitively make sure that you're going to the people that are of your highest good, and they're not just trying to be scamming you, or they're not trying to run one over on you just to get your money. So make sure that you're putting boundaries up for yourself. And if you have an intuitive gut feeling about something, always go with that. Try not to push your limits and thinking that you're doing the right thing when you kind of feel like it's not the right thing to begin with. So just being mindful of that as well. But definitely support the small businesses around at this time. If you can do some online donations to certain people, if you would like to donate to me, I'll also leave that information in the box below, or put it somewhere in a description somewhere or something. Anyway, there are a lot of people struggling right now, but there are a lot of people that are also doing so very well, that we all just need to come together and just be compassionate and grateful for each other. Definitely plant the seeds of gratefulness and love thy neighbor. Notice them as one and the same, and that they also might be going through something that you're not aware of. So as much love frequency that you can give anyone at this time is so very, very important. I know for myself, I am stuck at home without working right now, so it's a lot of doing me time, which is so necessary, as I've explained through this whole video. If you would like more information, definitely try and contact me. I will be posting this hopefully the same day I record. But I think it's a beautiful time to start enacting a lot of beautiful energy into the world, so that we can just get through this a lot faster, and we're going to be so much more healthy and so much more alive at the end of it. And just know that there is so much support behind the scenes that we've been given, and that's why we haven't come to a complete self-destructive place. So know that you're always on the right path. Don't ever doubt yourself on that. And I wish all the best of intentions towards everything you're doing at this time. I hope all the best of friendships and connections to stay and stick through for you. And I'm sending you so much love and so much energetic frequency that I hope to enliven you a little bit to stay focused on yourself, and anything that you can do to help others too. Definitely know it is going to be very well received, and karma is always a beautiful thing that is working behind us, whether negative or positive. So being mindful of that as well. And I will speak with